Good morning, everyone. How many of you agree that India is rarely on the AI spotlight? Raise your hands. We are in the midst of the biggest technology wave for the next few decades. And if we are not going to seize this moment, we are going to be standing on the sidelines. But I will show you why India is not just catching up. India is going to have a potential to lead in the next wave of AI. Let's step back and look at what is required for a country to be truly innovative. There are 5 things which is required for a country. 1, they need a skilled workforce. Then you need an enabling, favorable policy infrastructure. You need world-class digital infrastructure, and you need a lot of capital and some irrational investors. And you need core research capability. And India just didn't accidentally fall into the wave of this AI, but we have been engineering our way over the last few decades. In the 1970s, when the world was booting up PCs, India was just coming out of this brutal colonial era. Our IIT just started the computer science program. When the world was in the internet era, we were just learning tech offshoring and invented the tech services industry. Government understood how favorable policies could help invent new industries. As the world was creating Googles and NVIDIAs, our startup ecosystem was just starting. The first Zinnov NASSCOM report in 2008, we had only 600 startups. Today, we have over 32,000 startups. These companies have got over $65 billion in investment just in the last 5 years. We have built world-class digital public infrastructure. Our GCCs have moved from pure cost centers to truly innovation hubs. And now we have one of the world's leading tech ecosystems. We are leaders in technology talent, number 2 now, but we are number 1 from an English-speaking talent perspective. We are the global ultimate outsourcing hub. We are go-to for GCCs. Every large global company wants to set up their GCCs in India. And we are minting unicorns by a dozen every year. And we have now lined up all our ducks to truly lead in AI. Let's get into a little bit of detail. AI has 3 stacks. You think of it as a stack with 3 layers. First layer is infrastructure. Infrastructure, this is where we need a lot of semiconductor, energy-guzzling data centers. The largest data center in Nevada requires more power than the power required to power the Bangalore city. So it's how much of energy getting consumed. The second layer is a model layer. Model layer is where intelligence is built. Here, talent density is a key differentiator. Think of the latest news about Meta poaching engineers from OpenAI and paying them $10 to $100 million for each engineer. You have $10 to $100 million for a data scientist. That's how hard the competition for top talent who are required to build models. Third is the agent layer. Agent layer is where AI meets the real world. This is where you see enterprise workflows getting automated using AI. Here is where you have tech services companies providing intelligent operation, startup building AI-native business models. And what does it take to lead in agentic AI? It's just not algorithms, it's not talent. You need to understand how real work gets done in enterprises as well as in governments. And in India, we have over 1 million people working on complex enterprise workflows, be it in the corporate function, finance, HR, procurement, in such functions, or in core processes, claim processing, anti-money laundering, network operations, manufacturing operations. In fact, one of our customers managed the complex semiconductor manufacturing in Malaysia sitting from their India center. And Malcolm Gladwell said, you need 10,000 hours to build expertise in a certain area. And we have collectively 1 million people probably worked a decade to build this capability, and we have spent 20 billion hours in building this deep workflow capability, and this is a key differentiator for India. And it's not just, and I'll go into a little bit more detail on what I mean by these processes. Let's look at revenue cycle management. This powers the $5 trillion healthcare industry in the US. And revenue cycle management is a process where the hospitals get insurance payments from the insurance companies. So this is a complex process. So even a small data entry error will snowball into major millions of dollars of losses at the later stages. It is a complex process. There are dozens of steps, including patient registration, billing, coding, denial management. And also it's layered with clinical, financial, and compliance accountability. We have over 100,000 people working on RCM processes in India. One of our customers, MedExpert, has set up 1,000+ people in Chennai working day and night to provide these services to their customers. These services, these teams are able to get the hospitals and small clinics get paid so that they're able to service 300 million people in the US. For you to automate using agents and RCM process, there is nowhere else in the world we have the domain capability like what we have in India. And not just a workflow capability. We have deep expertise in building these agents. Look at all the platform companies, Google, Microsoft, Adobe, all of these large companies. One of our customers, Pega, has over 50% of the global R&D working on AI based in India. These companies are building agentic platforms in India. Over 60% of global Fortune 500 companies have centers in India, GCCs in India, and all of them are incubating AI, piloting, testing, and scaling use cases. We have tech services companies which are taking bold steps from moving from a labor-intensive business model to an agent-intensive business model. These companies are building large-scale agents for their customers to automate these workflows. And one of the indicators of what is happening in the ecosystem is the funding which is happening in the ecosystem. Over 85% of funding, VC funding, is going into agentic AI companies, startups in India. And for a B2C startup, you can have a 20-year-old, like a Zepto, Cohen, start a company. But for starting agentic AI startups, you need domain capability. Over 58% of the startups which are founded in agentic AI was built with people with domain expertise who had lived the workflows, and now they're trying to automate. So India has skilled workforce, deep domain capability, capital, and ecosystem. We can totally, and we will totally dominate the agentic AI way. So how many of you agree with me or convinced that India will dominate the agentic AI way? Okay, I was able to convince a large chunk of you. The second layer is the infrastructure layer. Infrastructure layer is where we need to build a billion-scale AI infrastructure in India at a cost point only India can do. How many are RCB fans here? Okay, we have a room full of RCB fans. When Virat Kohli lifted the IPL championship, Chinnaswamy Stadium roared. People across the streets, in WhatsApp groups, in chai stalls, were buzzing because of the victory. And Virat Kohli had to wait for 17 years to win this trophy. And India has been building the invisible infrastructure, fiber optic cables, thousands of miles, towers, millions of towers, to be able to build this infrastructure. We had 700 million views for this match. And this was possible because we invented business models that made the internet infrastructure accessible for the masses. So we know how to build a billion people scaled infrastructure. And we are already starting to do that. If you look at from an AI perspective, there is significant investment going into semiconductor, network and connectivity, energy, and all the relevant areas required for us to build world-class capability. Over $170 billion is going to be spent in building India's world-class data centers by 2030. So we have done this before in internet, and we will do it again in AI infrastructure. The next part is a bit tricky. The model layer, as I said before, requires deep talent density. And one other way to look at what is happening in the model layer is to look at how much of funding is going into India. Less than 1% of global funding in model layer has come into India. To lead in model, we need three things. You need funding, you need talent, and you need research capability. Think of it as a flywheel, right? You need deep, strong external forces, or all these forces acting on the flywheel to get it moving. So let's see where we are in India across all of these three areas. First, if you look at research, a recent study showed this startling information. Only 6% of global AI citations was from India. Only 1% of granted AI patents relevant for the corporate was from India. China is way ahead of US in these metrics. And the second part is talent, and we are 1.4 billion people, so we have our set of genius, but we don't do a good job of keeping them in the country. The top 70% of IIT JEE toppers have moved out of the country to work on their future. To understand this deeply, we did a long research. We talked to thousands of engineers from top universities, be it in IIT, IIT Delhi, IIT Mumbai, IISc, to understand why they want to leave India. The results were surprising. They said they're not leaving India for better salary. They're not leaving India for the better standard of living. They're leaving India because we don't have research infrastructure. We are losing some of the top brains in India, the ones who can build India's future AI capabilities, leaving India. And we then compared the funding into the top universities in the US and the top universities in India. We took the top 5 universities in the US. We looked at IIT Chennai, Mumbai, Delhi, and IISc in the top 5 in India. Just MIT alone gets almost 10 times the funding of all the 5 universities in India combined. That is the difference in funding for our university. But all is not lost. We have seen other countries solve this before, and we could also solve this. And when we looked at other countries who have done this, one country came up in the top is South Korea. South Korea was lagging the world in terms of R&D spend just a few decades ago. But now they are almost double of the R&D spend as a percentage of GDP compared to any location in the world. It was done with bold vision, policy, academia and industrial collaboration, and strong government support to enable this happen. If South Korea could do it, India could do it. And we already started working on these areas, and government is the one which is taking the boldest bet. Just in the last 6 months, there have been 2 major initiatives from the government. First is a $5.8 billion fund for funding research labs and academia in building core research capabilities. This program is designed similar to the US National Science Foundation, so that these universities and research labs can get this funding. Second is $11.6 billion funding going into corporates and startups to build research that they can commercialize. And the government is building IITs in every state in India. This is a massive initiative. Second is the corporate. Corporate has taken smaller steps, but still some steps. You see companies like Samsung collaborating with IITs in building core research in deep learning and AI. You look at Bosch, again started collaboration with top universities in India. These are small steps and a lot to be done from a corporate contribution in building research infrastructure in India. And Indian entrepreneurs, and this is something I'm inspired about. A lot of the Indian entrepreneurs are starting to give back to build the future national institutions. A Project Noble just started by a set of individuals like Ashish Dhawan. It's inspiring. The Project Noble was created to build an university that in future will create Nobel laureates. That's how Ashoka University was born. And they just didn't want to build it with a few people. They included a lot of change makers with over 22 people contributed 30% of the net wealth in building Ashoka universities. And people like Dr. Anand Deshpande are building India-specific data sets. For example, for diabetes research, a lot of the data used for diabetes research was built in the Western countries when a significant chunk of diabetes patients are based in India. We didn't have India-specific data sets. So there are initiatives from Mindtree founders in building some of the infrastructure in IISc and other institutions. So Indian entrepreneurs are starting to give back. And all of this is not enough. We need to do a lot more. For example, if we can build world-class AI labs and infrastructure in the 50 of the top universities in India, we believe we can keep our top talent in India. These labs could provide world-class faculty, global linkages, open research programs that allows our students to get global exposure. We need to increase the number of PhDs. US, at 1/4 the population of India, graduates 5 times more computer science PhDs. And guess what? The number 2 contributor to the number of PhDs in the US is from India. So over the next few years, next 5 years, we need to increase our PhDs 5 times. And all of this is going to cost a lot of money. $25 billion is our estimate. $25 billion sounds like a lot of money, but just the IT services and GCC market in the next 5 years cumulatively will be $1 trillion. For $1 trillion industry, we should be able to spend $25 billion. To start with, every one of you should take a simple step. We should be able to spend as much as what we spend in corporate CSR in research, and every dollar we spend in research will build our AI research labs, will build our PhD program, which allow our students to stay back and build deep capability in the ecosystem. Why India and why now? It's very important for India to lead because we need technology sovereignty in AI. AI is going to be so core in economic growth and national security in the next few years. And if AI is part of India's digital infrastructure, it's going to be accessible, affordable, and locally relevant. And it's not just important for India to lead. It's not just important for India, it's also important for the globe that India leads. And when India invents technology, these technologies are always inclusive, accessible, open, and scalable. Look at what we did with satellites, vaccines, our digital public infrastructure. The same thing happens when India invents AI. When India leads, none of the 8 billion people in this world will be left behind. So let's start moving this flywheel together. Thank you.